You're watching Rehatched Designs by Tina Williams, where I remake and update unwanted and discarded items into beautiful home decor in many different styles and in many different ways to resell in my booths or to use in my own home. So sit back and enjoy the video, and if you like it, please give me a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll know when I upload future videos. Thanks for watching. Hi everybody, this is Tina. Hope you're doing well today. I have a new exciting video using the new summer release of IOD, and I've just got my hands on these a week ago, so I've been kind of playing with them for this whole week, and I've come up with a few new ideas, and I have a couple of other videos that I'll link in the description box that I put out using these same products. I also have these products available on my website and in my Etsy, and my website is rehatcheddesigns.com, and my Etsy is Rehatched Designs with the number 2 and U. Both those links will be in my description box, so if you feel inclined to purchase these products, I appreciate if you take a look there. And also, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'll leave my email in there, and any other products that I use, I will try and provide those links for you in the description box so that you can purchase those if you'd like to, make something similar. Also too, I wanted to talk a little bit about pricing. People had asked me how I price my items, and I will tell you, I do take into account when I use items such as the IOD products, paints, etc., and I price them accordingly, and I will try and tell you what I price things for as I do things, on my videos. But every market is different, so depending upon where you are and the price points where you are. My 3 booths are all even different, and they're pretty close in proximity, so you just never know what's going to work in your area. You just kind of have to check it out and try it out. I will say that for me, these items are of good value. They really help me be more creative, and I think make one-of-a-kind items that I think people appreciate. And the one thing I have learned, I'm certainly not an expert at this, but I do think that there is a whole group of people out there that really, really love unique items that they can't find in, in the department stores, or even in other boutique booths. They like things that are one of a kind, and I find that I sell those items faster than any other items, and I do feel like I get what I put into them and a reasonably good profit. So I will always try and include that information. If I don't be afraid to mention it in the comments, or I'll leave my email and I will try and get back to you. If I'm super busy, it may take me a little while, but I will always try and get back to you. And I do appreciate all of the support and love that I've been shown. You guys have been great, and I really, really appreciate it. So if you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, share, like, and most of all, subscribe. I still have less than like 35% of all the people that watch my videos that subscribe. So if you're not subscribed, please do that, and I greatly appreciate it if you do. And don't be afraid to comment. I love talking with you, and I don't mind constructive criticism at all. I do pay attention to it, and I do try and improve, and I really, really do appreciate your support. It helps me know what you like. It helps YouTube know what you like. It also helps me when you purchase things through my website or my Etsy. It helps me to continue to make videos for you and to try different products out and make things that you enjoy. So anyway, I'll see you at the end of the video. Bye-bye. Okay, so first off, project number 1, we're going to be using the inlay Delft Azure, which is the blue and white one. They have basically the same one in kind of a dark brown or black. I think it looks dark brown. And we're going to be using Drop Cloth by Dixie Belle. And what I'm doing is I am painting this thrifted birdhouse that I purchased, a while ago at a garage sale for $3. And I'm going to be giving it 2 good coats and then kind of like a half a coat, because it was basically black and brown. And I'm just going to make sure that I cover it really well. And then this is like the little finial that was on top. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm going to put that on first, but we're going to end up changing the color. And as you can see, this inlay has lots and lots of things in it that we can use on that. And I'm kind of trying to figure out which one would work best. And I picked one out that I think I can put around the opening in there. So I'm kind of cutting out the middle so it'll fit, and then I'm going to have to kind of cut out the bottom so it fits around there. And if you have not ever used inlays, I think this is a great inlay set to get. Because blue and white are super popular now, but also because of all of the little pieces in it that you can use. So now I'm kind of cutting out another piece. I'm basically cutting out all the pieces that I'm going to use all over this. So this inlay set comes with a lot of coordinating pieces to it, which is great if you love doing things like this birdhouse. I can make it all work together pretty easily. And I love it, the ones that have this many small little pieces, if you are a reseller, because if you do a lot of smalls like I do, inlays are great. You get multiple uses out of them. I use mine 3 times usually. So they get lighter each time you use them. I love them the second and third time. I think they really look good. They look very vintage. So anyway, there's tons and tons to use. So after I pick out all my pieces, I'm going to start laying them down. And the way it works is you need to put something down for the paint inlay to stick to. You can use a top coat, you can use paint. And I spray the inlay with my mister. And I spray the paint side, not the grid side. The grid side is the back, the paint side's the front. And I'm making sure that I have plenty of paint down there. And after I spray it, I make sure that I take like a damp cloth or a baby wipe or something and make sure that the inlay is making contact with the paint or top coat or whatever you're going to use. Because if you really don't put that pressure on it, sometimes it won't transfer. So after you do that, I just pretty much make sure that it's down. And now I'm going to put a piece down at the bottom, and I had put just a little strip of paint down with that, and then I just take my little baby wipe, and of course I had wet it just like I did the other one. So now I have this piece that I want to put on the top, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it around that chimney so that it'll fit. I'm not doing the chimney, I'm just doing the roof portion of it. So again, I painted my little roof with the chalk paint. As you can see, it's wet. And then I'm just going to lay my inlay down. It's not like a transfer. You can move it around a little bit when you first get it on there, so you have a little bit of time. And if you're intimidated by these, don't be. I mean, I was at first, and I can tell you they're really easy to use, and it gives a very authentic uh, hand painted look when you're done. So I'm going to just be repeating the same process all the way through, putting some paint down, misting them, and then laying them all down. And I do that to all of the pieces that I add onto the birdhouse. So after you let them dry completely, what you do is you mist them again. Um, Make sure they are completely dry before you do that. Let the water sit on the paper for about 30 seconds, and then you can pull the inlays off. And make sure you put those inlays aside somewhere to dry flat, because you can reuse them at least 2 more times. Some people say they use them 4. I usually use them about 3 times. So look how beautiful they look. And it does look hand painted. It's hard to tell on a video, but in person, it looks like they're just you hand painted this birdhouse. So, and the process is pretty easy. You just mist, let it sit there and pull it off. If you feel any resistance at all, put a little bit more water on it and let it sit a little bit longer, and it should come right off after that. After I've done all of that, I am going to be taking some Paint Couture Night Sky. It's a blue, very, very close to the blue that is in this paint inlay. So I'm going to go all the way around those little knob things there, those little half circles all around there. And then I'm going to go around the rim of the birdhouse, around the front edge, and around the front 3 edges, just to kind of highlight it. And then I'm going to paint the little finial that was on top. So after I let that dry, I spray it with the top coat, and then I go over it with a mixture of Van Dyke Brown and polyacrylic. And this is our finished project. I think it turned out really, really cute. if you look at it in person, it does really look like you have a hand-painted beautiful birdhouse. And I love these inlays. In fact, project number 2, we're going to be using the paint inlay again, Delft Traditions Azure. There is so much in this pack, guys. So much. Here's a project that is really easy and be great for beginners. If you're like a little bit intimidated, you could start with something like this. These are just the little starter cups that you get for your plants. And I've used these before on my channel where I've decoupaged napkins on them. All I'm doing is taking drop cloth and I'm going over them, and I'm not looking for perfection here. I'm just kind of doing one light coat all over the whole thing and letting that dry. And then after that, we're going to be adding some more of the inlays to this and doing a few other things. But in any case, this is a super easy project. And when you see these, when they're done, I sell these in my booth for $8 a piece. Very cost effective, small to keep in there. And you'll see when I'm done. So I'm not looking for perfect coverage. All I want is just a light coat on there. And then I'm going to be looking at these inlays, and they have a whole page of these wonderful little small pieces in there. I love these. There's the fact that they gave you a whole sheet of these is fantastic. And as I said, I used mine 3 times, so that's a lot of projects I can get just out of that. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is basically the same thing that I've been doing. Is I'm going to go ahead and take my little cups that are dry or planters, and I've picked out 3 of these little small pieces here. Now, of course, you could put these on small terracotta pots. I could see using these on some sort of, mug or something like that would be really cute. But I thought I would do that on these just to kind of show you a super easy project. Again, you put a little paint down, you mist the paint side, and then you put paint side down. The grid is in the back. And then make sure that you press down on it so that it is laying in the paint. And I just follow those steps 3 different times. I'm just using the brush to make sure it lays down. But of course, again, you can use a wipe, whatever you need to use. And just make sure that it is in the paint. And I'm just going to keep repeating those steps. So after they're all dry, we go through the same process. We just mist them, let the water sit on the paper for about 30 seconds, And then you basically just, you know, pull the inlay off. Look how beautiful they turn out. And this is a rough texture. This is not flat. So, and after I do that, I take that same mixture I used on the birdhouse. It's a little Van Dyke brown mixed in with some polyacrylic, and that just, it seals it, and it also gives it a vintage look. And I put that mixture on after I sprayed it with a spray sealer. I always use a spray sealer first, and then I use that other mixture after. So now what I'm doing is I'm just taking a little foam from Dollar Tree, and I have these little succulents that I bought online. I know you can get them different kinds at Dollar Tree. I will put the link to the ones I bought. I found that they're basically about the same price, and they look a little bit better, and they gave you a better variety. So sometimes check into that. Sometimes Dollar Tree isn't always the best value. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and try and figure out which ones I want where. And I'm going to be using a little Spanish moss, which always makes a huge mess, but you know, you got to have it in there. So I'm just going to kind of move things around and decide how I want them. You know, I'm using succulents. You could use any kind of little flowers in there. You could just put a little baby's breath. You could, you know, whatever you think will look good. I've done different things, and I haven't done these exact, obviously, cups, but I've done these before, and I've sold them for $8 very easily. They go pretty quick, and I think they turn out great. So it's a great little small to have in your booth. It's a lovely little gift to give people. It would work great for like place settings at a table. I think they turn out really cute. So now we are on to project number 3, and we'll be using the stamp called Charlotte, and we're going to be making a book stack. And that's another thing that I sell in my booth quite often. I will sell these usually for $20 to $25, depending upon, you know, what I put into them. One thing I'll have to say, we're going to be using stamps on this, and then we'll be reusing our inlays. So the amount of product you're putting in these is minimal. These are books that I had laying around my house. So what I'm doing here, guys, is I am just taking the inlays that we had been using on the birdhouse, and also on the other project of the little planters, and we're just going to reuse them for the second time. Now, one piece that I used, I put on there, and I didn't realize it had not been used before, so it's going to turn out a little darker, but I'm going to show you how to fix that so it all matches. I actually like the inlays the second time, even the third time, better, because it has a more faded vintage look to it. But, you know, there's room for both. I mean, I think the birdhouse turned out great. And by the way, I will sell that birdhouse for between $25 and $28 probably. So, you know, and the product on that, you know, is minimal, because I get to reuse those inlays, you know, 2 more times. So that's a pretty good profit. So possibly I maybe spent $7 or $8 total. Anyway, so I'm just repeating the same steps using the inlay that we already used. You put your paint down, you spray the inlay, you do it exactly the same as you do the first time, no difference at all, and you take them off the same way. The only difference is, you know, they're going to be a little bit lighter, and if you use them in paint, that paint will transfer, or can transfer, but most likely will transfer to the next item. And so I use the same color paint, so you're not going to really notice that. But I've done it before, like I've had, you know, green paint on, then I did it on a white book stack, and you think, oh, well, that wouldn't look good. Well, it looked really good because it had chippy paint along with the white, and it looked fantastic. So now I'm using the inlays on a different book. This is a dark blue book that is very close to the blue in the inlays. And I'm only going to be putting the inlay on the spine. And I'm using the pieces that we used on our little plant starter things. I don't know what you call those. I'm sure there's a name for them. I probably knew it one time. I don't know. I'll try and list those too. I bought those on Amazon. I'll see if I can find that for you. So anyway, I'm making sure the front of my book is nice and clean because we're going to be doing something with that. We're going to be using the, I think it's Charlotte stamp. And we're not going to be using all of it. We're just going to be using a few pieces. I have not used this yet. Like I said, guys, I just got all of these last Thursday. So this is all new to me. I am very, very pleased with this release. I so far love everything in it. I wasn't sure about a couple things. The ones that I wasn't sure about, they turned out to be like what everybody loves. So, you know, you just don't really know until you see it in person, I think. So what I did is I just sanded it. You want to take some sandpaper and go over your stamp a couple times. That seasons it. And now what I'm doing is I am just taking some drop cloth, and I think that is Cucumber Ice by Dixie Belle, and I'm using my brayer to go over the stamp, and I'm going to stamp this image. And you just basically want to hold it with one hand and then make sure you put pressure everywhere. And to be clear, using paint instead of ink, you are not going to get as good as impression. And in my case, I think I put a little bit too much paint on here, so it's not as crisp as it could be. It turned out okay, but I would definitely, you know, if you want a super crisp look, then definitely use ink. I just ordered some of the white ink by IOD, but it won't be in for, let's see, actually it'll be in tomorrow. So, but, you know, I think it still turned out really cool. So I like it. It's a good profile picture there. And now I'm going to do the same thing with this teacup that comes in that same stamp set with the spoon and the teacup. I thought those things kind of went together. Again, I'm just taking some the paint and I'm putting it on something so that I can roll it on the brayer. This time I'm intentionally making sure I don't put as much paint so that I get a little crisper look to it. And these stamps are very, very detailed. Very detailed. So you will never get as detailed a look if you're using paint. But, you know, it's fun to be able to use paint. So just thought I would show you a different way of using it. And you can see that one turned out a little bit crisper. And, you know, that's on me. But I still think they turned out really good. And I'm going to make sure that they're completely dry before we move on to the other steps. Let that dry a little bit. And of course, now what I'm doing, guys, is I am doing exactly what I did before on all the inlays. So I can take all of them off, misting them and then taking them off. And you can see there where one's a lot brighter than the other. And I don't show it in the video, but the way to fix that is after it's dry and after you've sealed it with a spray sealer, I just take some sandpaper and I lightly go over the one that's a little bit brighter, and it brings it back to where they match. So if you ever have that situation, that's how you fix it. But make sure it's sealed before you sand it, and make sure it's completely dry. So I'm going to go ahead and go over this with the water and pull those off, and they turn out perfect. And guys, this is the second time I've used the inlay, and so they transfer perfectly. They're just lighter, you know. So I'm getting some good use out of these. So I think that they all turned out great, absolutely beautiful. And here they are. And I sell book stacks all the time in my booth, which kind of surprised me at first, but I do sell them, and I love having them in my home. Take some old books and make some book stacks, because it's great to set things on them. You know, it really sets something off, and I think they're just beautiful. So project number 4, and this is our last project. We are going to be using the garden bouquet stamp, which I absolutely love. I love anything garden. All of my booths have a lot of gardening stuff in it. Just a lot. I have to watch myself. So the last video I did, everyone was going on and on about the clipboard. And I thought, well, I'm going to make another one, and I'm going to make it a little in a different way. I used a transfer last time. This time I'm going to use an inlay. And I am using the color Cucumber Ice by Dixie Belle. So I make sure that I hold the clipboard open so that I can get underneath it and make sure it's dry before I put it down. Otherwise, you're going to glue it shut. And I also go over the metal part of the clipboard. And I will go over this a total of 2 times. One thing about these clipboards, that they definitely take the paint well. They're very inexpensive. I bought them in bulk, but you can find these anywhere for like $2. So it's a very, very cost-effective item to sell if you're selling. I usually sell these between $18 and $22 is around the average, depending upon, you know, what I do. So now what I'm doing is I am going to take the garden bouquet stamp. This is the new IOD release, summer release. And I am going over it with some sandpaper, and that gets it ready to use. And now I'm showing you the masks. The masks are wonderful, and what they've done new recently is that they actually have the image imprinted on the mask, which I like to use just to kind of decide, you know, what image I want to use or how I want it to look on whatever I'm doing. So just make sure that you put all of those pieces back, because they're really easy to lose. Less likely now that they have the image on there. And if you guys need the little stamp holder things, I have that on my website. I don't have it in my Etsy. I don't have as much in my Etsy as I do my website. So if you want the inks and the sprayers and all that kind of stuff, that's on my website. So they're going to both be listed. So anyway, there is what I decide I want to use. I want to use the hydrangea. I think that'll be the prettiest. And I am going to be using IOD ink for that. And I'm going to be using the China Blue. And so I am just going to go ahead and stamp that impression down, holding it with one hand. And I just make sure I always have it holding it with one hand. You can also use a brayer. If you use a brayer, do not press too hard or you'll smear your ink. And I always make sure I go with my finger all around the edges. And I make sure I don't press too hard. And there you go. Beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? So Now I have the mask down, and I have taken a piece of painter's tape and I have doubled it up, and I have taped the mask onto the hydrangea that I stamped after it's dry. And now I'm using the stamp that was in the last release, the veranda stamp. And I'm going to go over that right over the mask. And I think people get confused with how to use the masks. And basically, it's pretty simple. The thing that you want to see in front, you do first. So we want the hydrangeas to be in front, and we want the veranda stamp in the back. So that's how you do it. And I briefly went over it. I'm trying to dry it a little bit before I connect the rest of the veranda stamp. And make sure when you're trying to dry it that you don't get too close to your stamp or your mask, because you'll melt them. And always make sure that you wipe off any extra ink that you have so it doesn't transfer onto your project. And I'm going to go ahead and just connect those. Super easy to do. I love this. I love that veranda stamp. It has so many cool elements in it, and I have used it quite a bit. So that's one that's going to be a staple. But I made a hot mess out of this. Look at all that extra ink I have. I have to get off of there. I'm a very, very messy stamper. But partly I had just juiced up that stamp pad, so it's very, very juicy. So it'll kind of do that. So I'm going to make sure I get all of the ink off of there. And what I'm doing now, guys, is I'm stamping on the back. And you definitely could add the hydrangea to the back. You could add another flower. I thought about adding a bird. I do the back of these because on a clipboard, you know, you might be like holding it in your hand. And I just think, you know, it just gives it that little extra touch. And of course, I'm going to connect it and go all the way across. But you very, very easily could do the back. I was just trying to kind of get done with the project. But I could definitely see using the bird. Possibly, I was thinking about that from the Charlotte stamp. That'd be really pretty. So now what I'm doing is I am pouring some resin in the bowls mold and the acorn mold. These are both new. And then I decide I'm going to pour a few other pieces in some other molds just because I don't know what I'm going to use. And I end up using the little bee and the laurel mold and then the bows mold. And I decide that I'm going to go ahead and paint these with Night Sky, which is the Paint Couture paint that I used on the birdhouse. So I'm going to go over this all with that. And really, when I got done, I think I should have gone a little bit lighter on my paint color on the bow and the bee, but that's okay. I think they look really good. So now I'm going over the whole thing and I'm sealing it with that same mixture that I made of the Van Dyke Brown from Paint Couture and a little bit of polyacrylic, just to seal the whole piece, including the little clip portion. And I'm holding it open to make sure that I don't, you know, glue it shut. And ask me how I know that, okay? Because if you do that and have it shut, it will basically glue it shut. So I do that through the whole thing. I do the back. Make sure that it's done. And what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of just gold gilding wax from Dixie Belle, and put some on my finger and go over the the castings, which I have glued down. I just used some hot glue and a little bit of Tite Bond on the back and glued it straight to the clip. You want to make sure that you don't have anything hanging too low so you can't, operate the clip on the clipboard. But that's pretty much all you do. And it will stay permanently with Tite Bond. And I use Gorilla Hot Glue. And now what I'm doing is I'm just taking that same gilding wax and I'm going to go over all of the edges. I just feel like that little touch of gold with the blue is very French country. And that's the look I'm going for on all these projects. So that's it, guys. That is it. I think it turned out really, really pretty. And as I said, I sell these all the time in my booth. $18 to $22. So those are all my projects, and I hope you enjoyed those. I think they turned out great. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm going to go ahead and start my Christmas in July next week. So stay tuned for that, guys. We'll be doing that through the end of July. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and start doing some fall projects. So stay tuned, and I hope to see you guys again soon next time. Bye-bye.